two very cool jets that were passed to the developers as suggestions that I really think should be added to the game. Hello guys, once again it's Matt. Thank you all the members and patrons. Make sure to subscribe. And of course, every single month we have the suggestions passed to the developers. This is basically a list of vehicles and suggestions that are passed to the devs for consideration to be added to the game. I normally don't do videos talking about them, but I really want to start a different video a little bit, right? Talking about the coolest ones in my opinion. Normally jets, of course, since the channel is more focused on that. I can talk more about other stuff like tanks and stuff if you guys like this video, but at the end of the day I really wanted to focus on aircraft. And we had the July 2024, and with that two aircraft that I think are very interesting were actually passed to the devs. One of them is the Panavia Tornado IDS SLE. This is very interesting. The suggestions was made by Godvana. I will leave the link in the description for his or her suggestion. And yeah, it's very interesting because it would be the ultimate Tornado IDS. And I love these type of aircraft, so I just had to talk a little bit about it. So what it would look like is basically a heavily upgraded Tornado IDS. It wouldn't change too much, but it has some heavy upgrades done to it. Of course, in the game we have, as it's, you know, the German main variant, the Asta 1, right? The Asta upgrade to it. But we had the Asta 2 and the Asta 3 and the 3.1. This included many things, like the inclusion of the HARM missile, the AGM-88, a seed missile, of course, anti-radiation, right? The Cormoran 2 to it, basically a display system upgrade for the pilot and navigator, the Bow advanced radar warning system, the Taurus KEPD 350 cruise missile, and data links, the LJ dam, many upgrades, right? Even colored displays. This would be the 3.1, for example. So there were many upgrades done to the Tornado over the years. But at the end of the life of the Tornado actually got the Service Life Enhancement Program, the SLE, which basically was, I mean, it's a very modern upgrade to it in 2021, basically. It was initiated, and the objective was to extend the life. It's a mid-life upgrade, right? The objective is to extend the service life of the aircraft, basically, you know, replacing all the damaged, weared airframe parts or whatever it's needed to actually, you know, be changes to be fully modernized and a new aircraft, basically, kinda, right? So the landing gear was reinforced. The bow radar advanced radar got a radar warning receiver got a processing you know, upgrade, and many little things with better missiles and everything like that. The better countermeasures, everything. So we would basically have an Asta 3.1 with the SLE upgrade. So it would include all the upgrades that I mentioned, a better cockpit, data link systems, radar warning system, so basically you would receive a much better RWR, a missile approach warning system, so we would have a MAL system like the F-111, third generation thermal imaging systems, better and, you know, increased amount of chefs and flares, a better, of course, missile to self-defense. You would use the LI, you know, AIM-9 for example, and many other little things like, as I said, you know, new weapon systems and a new, you know, night vision system and whatnot, right? The cool part about this is that, again, it would use the AIM-9 LI to defend itself, but it could actually use the IDST missile as well in the future when that's added to the game to actually be a top tier contender for an interdictor slash bomber slash cast, whatever you want to use it. Of course, you can use the Laser J-Dan, the GBU-54, which is a very modern bomb as well. It would use the paveways, of course, glide bombs that are guided by GPS, the normal bombs unguided as well. So it would be, you know, a very modern Tornado. It wouldn't change too much, but it would be, you know, a 13.0 or something Tornado, I would think. I don't know. And in the future, it could even use better missiles, so it would be very, very cool. Even the skin would be very, very similar to something like the Eurofighter, so very, very cool. And another aircraft would be the Sukhoi, the Su-15TM. This is a very, very advanced for the time Soviet interceptor. It was basically the precursor to the MiG-25, right, in some respective areas, like for example strategy and objective inside the PVO. Remember, this is an aircraft made for the PVO, which are basically the Soviet air defenses. These are basically a force like the army, like the navy, like a military branch, of course, like the air force, like the DEVS, right? But the objective of the PVO was to strictly defend the Soviet airspace, basically, and the Soviet Union, obviously, in general, but the airspace in a specific way. And it was one of those weapons for that PVO, right? So the objective initially was to have a very, very strong and fast interceptor to basically destroy bombers, you know, reconnaissance aircraft, anything like that that would enter in Soviet airspace. What this aircraft is basically a super MiG-21, if you will, right? Very similar to the J-8. It would be very similar in feeling as the MiG-21, but larger, of course, right? So we would have actually two Tumansky R-13 engines, which are indeed engines made for the MiG-21 initially, and a rate of climb of 228 meters per second. So you can already see that it has plenty of power and plenty of climb, plenty of acceleration to actually be capable. In the weapons department, it can actually carry 6 pylons with basically 4 missiles, technically 6 as well, if you take the double pylon of the R-60, obviously. And then the Grisha 23 gun pods, and of course countermeasures, RWRs, stuff like that, normal environments, normal, you know, equipments for aircraft, right? As I was saying, I mean, this is an interceptor, so the objective is to use missiles. It would, as I said, carry 4 or 2, you know, R-60 or R-60Ms, the UPK-23 250, which is the Grisha 23 gun. You know, it can carry 1 or 2 pods of that. It can carry bombs and rockets, but the main missile would be the R-98 and R-98M in its T and R variant. It is a very, very early missile. It would be somewhat between like an M7D or E or something like that in performance, right? It would have around 24 kilometers and 15 Gs of turn. It is a very, very old missile, so don't expect this missile to be the most effective thing ever. But remember, this is not going to be a top-tier aircraft anyway, right? It would be a lower tier. And its radar uses the RP-26M Typhoon. Normally, you can say that it has around 45 to 55 kilometers against fighters in the high altitude detection range, and up to 70 kilometers for bombers. Low altitude is between 10 to 15 kilometers, of course. So it would be a very, very interesting thing. It can carry flares and chaffs, of course, with a pod with 50, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, it has the SPO-10 Sirena, which is the same RWR as the MiG-21s. So it would be a very fast aircraft that can deliver some very interesting missiles, and I honestly don't know why this aircraft wasn't added yet. It is the precursor, as I said, to the MiG-21, the 25, and it was the main Soviet interceptor in the late 60s and throughout the 70s until the MiG-21 surpassed it in numbers, you know, and as an objective and stuff. So it is a very, very interesting aircraft. Both of them are very, very cool. The Su-15 is a more interesting one in my opinion because, come on, Soviet interceptors, we need some of those. And the Tornado would just complete the German tech tree with something before, you know, other things like the Eurofighter and even the F-35 are added to the ground attack role, you know, in the far future, right? So, yeah, very, very cool that these are both suggested. The one for the Su-15 was suggested by James Pond 1200. I will leave both of the links in the description for you to check it out, as well as the suggestions passed to the developers, July 2024. And yeah, guys, let me know in the comments if you would like to see the Su-15TM and the Tornado IDS SLE in the game. See you guys on the next one. Make sure to subscribe, and bye, guys. See ya.